Welcome back to a very exciting episode of Starting Six. We just recapped our week 13, and now we are getting ready to make our bracket. And we have our first ever, very special honorary guest, Miss Taylor Ohm, the third part of our trio. For those of you guys who don't know, we met Taylor at Platteville. We played volleyball together. Duh. So, Taylor, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Just give us a little background, who you are, what you do, and, just a little bit of your volleyball background.
Right. Well, obviously I'm Taylor. I obviously met my two best friends at UW Platteville playing volleyball. I was playing volleyball since I was in 5th grade and then continued on to play in college. And then I graduated with a major in PE and health from UW Platteville, where I'm now a middle school PE and health teacher.
That's that's
there my life.
There we go. All right. Well, we have an exciting episode. We never done anything like this. It's been a lot of recaps and a lot of like personal, stories and that kind of a thing. But today we're going to be constructing our brackets for the NCAA tournament. The selection show was Sunday, so the 64 teams were set. You can see on the computer here. So I'm excited to see what you guys did. We've started our brackets. Mine still has a couple missing pieces. It's subject to change.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling okay with where I'm going. My paper is a mess. I have notes everywhere. Some scribbles and everything. But I'm excited to see the similarities between our brackets and then also the differences and like where we disagree and what upsets we're taking. So I'm ready to get started if you guys are ready to get started.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Liv, take it away with your top left quadrant.
Okay. So first I feel like it's a no-brainer. We got Nebraska winning against LIU. I don't even know who the frick LIU is, so get them out of there.
What an insane record to have heading into the NCAA tournament. 13 and 18.
They had to have won their conference, and so they just got an automatic bid.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about that for a second, because that's kind of shitty to me, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of better teams that could be in here than a 13 and 18 team.
I agree. I don't like that anyone who wins their conference, you could be the shittiest conference, just gets an automatic bid. You're not winning. Like, you're not going to go very far. I don't think it's fair to kick a good team to the curb, like Kansas State or any of the other ones. Like, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm not liking that, but all right. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. The next Delaware versus Missouri. I have Missouri taking it. Continuing down, Georgia Tech is my winner. This one I went back and forth between because I was kind of surprised that Florida got a number 4 seed in their tournament, but what did I have? I'm going to stick with them, so they better not disappoint me. And Arkansas, I got winning, even though they had a rough end. I don't know who SFA is, so you're not even in the running. And then I have this like weird feeling about TCU that they're gonna make a good run against Florida State. And same thing, Haley and I just talked about Baylor. I think their youth will help them in the long run. And then I have, that's not how you spell Kentucky. Then I got Kentucky versus Wofford. Wofford. Next, for the regionals, I have Nebraska beating Missouri. And then I have Georgia Tech taking it against Florida. Oops. And then I have Arkansas beating TCU, and I have Kentucky taking it against And then Kentucky, I think. Oh my goodness, you guys can all see my horrible typing skills.
No, we can't see
today.
you type at all. I don't know why. I can't
Are you
see them.
serious?
No.
What
No,
the
no,
heck?
it's typing, but we can't like actually see. Like it only goes in like when it's done.
Oh, okay.
It
It is
does?
typing.
Mine don't go in.
Oh,
Wait,
mine
go
are.
to a different tab and go back in. Now go back. There they are. Now I can see them.
Oh,
Can you
I
see
don't know
me
why.
typing?
well,
Now I can.
Yeah, now you're good.
I didn't change anything.
That's how this rolls. It's just chaos all the time. Okay.
Literally.
Who are you
Okay,
taking?
well,
Who are you
Nebraska
Oh, no. Yeah.
against Kentucky. And yeah. Oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to fill that one out.
That's okay. I feel like
That's
that one's
okay.
pretty obvious.
Okay. That is my top left.
So TCU and Baylor are your upsets.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's next? Me?
Haley. Yes.
All right. So to kick mine off, following the obvious lead, I'm taking Nebraska over LIU. Nebraska's obviously hosting, and I just think that the Bob Devaney Center, you're not losing in. For Delaware, Missouri, I'm taking Missouri. I feel like they have made a name for themselves toward the end of the year, and I wanna see them take one. I'm taking Georgia Tech. They struggle, but I don't see them dropping to South Alabama, a team I've never said words out of my mouth. I'm gonna agree. I don't know about Florida being at number 4, but I am taking them.
Yeah.
I think, with Kennedy Martin, they're still a really strong team. I just, I think they'll make it to round 2. Next, I'm taking Arkansas. Again, SFA. Don't know you. Arkansas sitting at number 9 to end the year. I'm liking the looks of that. I'm gonna take Florida State here. I feel like they have had some really big 5-set matches. They've had some really big wins, and I like the looks of what they could do here in the postseason. I too am going to take Baylor. I'm choosing this because I feel like they have had much more experience in the non-conference and conference season, and I think that the teams that they've played prepare them for this more than James Madison. And then I'm also taking Kentucky, which I feel like is an obvious choice. Heading back up to the top, I'm going with the Cornhuskers. I feel like that's probably a pretty normal thing to choose there. Georgia Tech and Florida, I'm taking Georgia Tech. I don't think Florida is strong enough to beat a team like Georgia Tech. And I don't think Kennedy Martin will outdo O'Tenney for Georgia Tech, so I'm going to take them. I'm going to do Arkansas over Florida State. I feel like they're just a more consistent team, even though they struggled towards the end of the year. I just like the looks of that. And then I'm going to take Kentucky over Baylor because of their dominance. I don't think Baylor is as dominant of a team. Nebraska and Georgia Tech, I'm going Nebraska, obvious pick. And then they will be facing off against Kentucky. Kentucky and Arkansas just played this past week, and Kentucky swept with ease, so I don't see them dropping to Arkansas in the postseason.
Yes.
And there we go.
Cool. Okay. Here we go, Taylor.
Okay. Well, I'm choosing Nebraska, obviously. Okay, and then I actually have Delaware beating Missouri. I don't know why. I'm just choosing it because why not?
Love it.
Just like to see, I don't know, that. Anyways, and then I'm going to do Georgia Tech over South Alabama. Then I'm going to go Florida. I agree. I don't understand how they're a 4, but I feel like I've got to take them. And then I'm going Arkansas, and then I'm going Florida State. Okay. And then I'm going to go with Baylor for the same reason as Haley, because I just feel like they have more experience with better teams, and I feel like they could be pretty I don't know, good going into the postseason. And then I'm also going to go Kentucky at the end of that.
Wofford.
Yes.
What a name.
I've literally never heard of.
What a name.
And then I'm gonna go Nebraska. And then I'm gonna go Georgia Tech against Florida. And I'm going to go Florida State over Arkansas. I don't know. I'm nervous about that one, but I'm gonna go with it. And then I'm gonna take Kentucky over Baylor. And then in my final two for this side, I'm gonna do Nebraska versus Kentucky. Is that? Yeah.
Love it.
I'm guessing you said Nebraska. It cut out, so I'm guessing you said Nebraska.
Yes. Yes.
Safe to assume.
Nebraska.
Safe to assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then did you say,
Kentucky.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
UK.
Okay.
All right. Bottom right, or bottom left.
Bottom left? Yeah. Okay. So starting with Louisville versus Wright State. Okay, let me know if you guys can see me typing still. I'm taking Louisville.
You got it, girl.
Okay. And then crazy to think that Western Michigan is 30-2 for their record.
Oh
but I'm taking Auburn. Looking at their conference, I mean, it makes sense why they're 30-2 because they're not playing many, if any, ranked teams. So I'm not too worried about that. I am taking Minnesota against Utah State. I think they'll pull off at least one win. I have Creighton versus Colgate, Creighton winning. And then Washington State over Grand Canyon. It's Grand Canyon's first time being in the postseason. I think they'll have a tough fight, but I don't think that they're going to be able to beat Washington State. I'm choosing Washington State over Grand Canyon. It's Grand Canyon's first time at the NCAA tournament. So I think that has a big effect into it. Dayton over Pepperdine. Pepperdine, you typically see win one match, but I think Dayton's been pretty consistent all year. And then I have Southern California beating UMBC, and then I have Pitt over Coppin State. Don't know where or who that is either. I then have Louisville over Auburn, Creighton beating Minnesota, Dayton over Washington State, which I think will be a tough match, and it could go either way, but Washington State's been a little too inconsistent for me. And then I have Pitt over USC. And then to finish out, I have Louisville over Creighton and Pitt over Dayton. Bailey?
I also have Louisville coming strong out the gate over Wright State. I also have Auburn. I think they've had a very impressive second half of their season. And I think there's a reason that they were put at number 7. I've got Minnesota upsetting Utah State as well. I think with their Big Ten play experience, they're going to make it out of the first round alive. I also have Creighton. I think that Creighton is a team that is talked about so little that it's almost their strength. They kind of fly under the radar. And usually when the NCAA tournament comes around, they are a force to be reckoned with. I took Washington State over Grand Canyon as well. I just think they're such an upperclassman heavy team that it would make more sense for them to get to round 2. I took Dayton over Pepperdine as well. The last I heard, so I never watched Dayton, but the last I heard is they were the best serving team in the nation. There's a reason that they have sat in the top 25 quietly and consistently all year. I'm taking USC over UMBC. They're shaky, but I think there's a reason that they're 8, and I'm going with it. And I'm also taking Pittsburgh. because it's Pittsburgh. Okay, Louisville and Auburn. I'm taking Louisville, obviously. I think Anna DeBeer and Charity Looper are just too strong of an offense for Auburn to be able to come back. I'm taking Creighton over Minnesota because I just don't think that Minnesota has all the moving pieces that are needed to continue on in strength. Melanie Schaffmaster is clearly struggling with her knee. Taylor Landfair looks like she doesn't want to play. And I don't think they're offensively strong enough to continue on. I took Dayton here over Washington State because of their consistency. So we're going to continue without the shared screen because Skype just said, no. So we'll post our full brackets at the end. Okay, perfect. So where I left off, I am taking Louisville over Creighton because it's Louisville. I just think that they're a very strong team. They were in the championship last year, so I think it would be a miss not to go with them. And for Dayton and Pittsburgh, I'm taking Pittsburgh because I think they're just a dominant team all the way across the net, in system or not. So for Louisville, oh wait, no, I'm done now. I'm not going to spoil it. Okay, that's my little quadrant there. I have Louisville and Pitt as my final two.
I have the exact same thing, literally to the T. So I have Louisville just because I feel like they are such a dominant team. And then I actually was going back and forth with Western Michigan, but like just looking at who they play, they just don't play good teams, even though their record is so good. So I'm going Auburn over them. And then I'm going to pick Minnesota because I have faith in the Big Ten. And I think that the Big Ten has, I don't know. I'm just picking Minnesota because I feel like they have a lot of experience with really good teams. And then I'm going Creighton just because I feel like they have been pretty dominant in their conference. And then I'm going to go Washington State over Grand Canyon. And then I'm going Dayton over Pepperdine just because they have just been so consistent as well, like what you guys have been saying. And then I'm going to go USC over, I don't even know what that team is. To be honest, I can't even read. My paper is cut off, so I can't even read that. But I'm going USC. And then I'm going to go Pitt at the end there. And then Louisville versus Auburn, I'm going Louisville. Minnesota over Creighton, Washington State over Dayton, I'm going Dayton. And then I'm taking Pitt at the end over USC. And then my last two for the final four are going to be Louisville and Pitt. Or for the four for that side are going to be Louisville versus Pitt.
Mm-hmm. Which would be an insane game to watch.
Oh,
yeah. Yes, agreed.
All right, top right. Olivia, take it away.
Okay.
This is big time now. This one's where it gets tough to me.
Yeah.
A lot of Big Ten.
Wisconsin over Jackson State. Wisconsin, it's pretty obvious. This next, Miami and UNI. I have Miami. Miami's upset some teams, have taken other teams to 5. They're kind of inconsistent, but I just feel like they have better competition than UNI, even though UNI is ranked 8, which just seems a little unusual to me. I have Penn State over Yale. Obviously, a huge Penn State fan, but I think they've just been on a hot streak, and they're going to use that momentum into the postseason. And then this one's fun. Omaha and Kansas play each other, what's the stat? All of the D1 volleyball teams from Kansas are in the NCAA tournament, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But I do have Kansas taking, or sorry, I was saying Nebraska. Why did I say Kansas in that? That was stupid. I thought of Omaha, and I then thought Kansas was in Nebraska. Jesus.
I didn't even catch that. I went right along with what you said. Like I would have full blown just been like, "Yep."
All four Division 1 volleyball teams from Nebraska are in the NCAA tournament.
Word.
But I'm taking Kansas. Purdue plays Fairfield, and I'm taking Purdue. They also play at home in Holloway Gym, so that's a no-brainer. I do have Marquette over Eastern Illinois. No good explanation for that. And then I have Hawaii over Iowa State. I know Iowa State has dabbled in top 25 and it has beaten some good teams, but I feel like Hawaii they've also beaten some good teams as well. And I don't think they have the competition that maybe Iowa State has, but I don't think that means that they're bad in any sort of way. So I have them being Iowa State, and then Oregon beating Southeastern
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah, I looked it up because I was like, there's no way I'm saying Southeastern Los Angeles.
Okay. And then I have the rematch of Wisconsin and Miami. I have Wisconsin beating Miami. And then this one was a hard choice for me. Penn State over Kansas, and I don't know.
Still contemplating.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Kansas, just because it scares me a little bit more for Penn State and Wisconsin to have a rematch.
It would be
And
at the Fieldhouse, though.
Yeah, I think Kansas might be a little bit more consistent than Penn State has been throughout the whole season. Then I have Purdue beating Marquette and Oregon taking Hawaii. From there, Wisconsin over Kansas and Oregon over Purdue. And then, yeah, was that it? Did I give too many?
No, perfect. Okay. Yeah, I would say mine's pretty similar. So I took Wisconsin over Jackson State as well. They're hosting, so I just feel like that's going to be, just easy, clean sweep. I took Miami over UNI as well because I feel like Miami has made headlines quite a bit more. I don't know if UNI is where they are because of their record or because of certain players they might have, but I thought that was a little weird as well. Not that Miami would deserve that. I don't know what other team would, but I did think that was a little funky. So I am going to take Miami. Penn State over Yale. I took Penn State. I took Kansas over Omaha. Purdue over Fairfield. I did take Marquette over Eastern Illinois. Iowa State over Hawaii. I just feel like Iowa State has clinched a couple of those top 25 spots. So my gut told me to go with them. However, I know Hawaii won their conference to get here, which is a huge deal. So I went back and forth with that one for a while, but I'm going to stick with the Midwest and go with the Cyclones. And then I took Oregon over Southeastern Louisiana as well. Up at the top, I have Wisconsin coming out on top over Miami pretty easily. I don't suspect that's going to be a crazy game at all. I took Kansas over Penn State as well because of the consistency. I think the Jayhawks have been dominant all year long, and I feel like Penn State is just now finding their groove. However, it definitely would be devastating to see Mac Pedrazza's career end there. So, I'm okay with either one coming out. But I have a gut feeling that it's going to be Kansas. That'd be a great game, though, either way. Yeah. I took Purdue over Marquette and Oregon over Iowa State. Then I took Wisconsin moving forward from Kansas. I think Kansas would be their first really hard match of the postseason. And it is intimidating, but because they're in the field house, I feel confident going with Wisconsin. I took Oregon over Purdue because I don't think Purdue will win against a team like Oregon on the road. So my last two are Wisconsin and Oregon. In Wisconsin, right? That'd still be in Wisconsin?
It should be, I think.
Yeah, so those are my last two.
I'd say mine, I'm pretty sure is the same, except for, actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same. Anyway, so I have Wisconsin just because it's Wisconsin. I also have Miami over UNI. I kind of went back and forth on that, but I feel like Miami's going to take it. And then I went Penn State over Yale. And then I have Kansas over Omaha, Purdue over Fairfield. And then I also took Marquette over Eastern Illinois. And then I have Iowa State over Hawaii. I feel like I could have gone either way with this as well, but I feel like Iowa State, I don't know. I just feel like they're going to win. And then I have Oregon over Southeastern Louisiana as well. And then I have Wisconsin beating Miami. And then I took Penn State over Kansas. That's the only one that was different. So I forgot about that one. So I took Penn State over Kansas. I don't know. I was also contemplating this one. I just feel like what we said, like Penn State has been doing really good here at the end of this season. So I feel like momentum going into the postseason, hopefully, I don't know. So I chose Penn State for that. Then I chose Purdue over Marquette. I was going to do Marquette before because I love Marquette, but I just feel like Purdue is just such a powerhouse, and I just can't see Marquette beating Purdue. So I'm going Purdue, and then Oregon over Iowa State, and then I have Wisco beating Penn State and Oregon beating Purdue.
So far, our last two of each portion of the bracket are all the same.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Do you think Wisconsin hosting Penn State would go like to 5, or what do you think that would look like?
See, that's why I was scared to choose Penn State, because I don't want them to win because I'm nervous for them to play Wisconsin, but like I feel like they're going to beat Kansas. I don't know. I feel like it would be a really tough match. I feel like it definitely would not be a sweep. Yeah, that just makes me nervous.
Yeah, I'd say 4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's another revenge match. If that does happen, I think it's going to be similar to the Nebraska match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also like we kind of had some switches going on with Wisconsin, and so I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty confident in Wisconsin right now, with everybody back and healthy, and everyone playing what they've been playing all season. So.
I agree.
Cool.
All right, bottom right. This one I feel like is going to be the most interesting, to be honest.
All righty. To start it off, Texas versus Texas A&M. I have Texas winning. There's a lot of Texas teams right in a row. And then Texas State versus SMU. I have SMU winning. Looking at, they're pretty comparable, I feel like, in conferences and teams that they've played. SMU did win their conference, so I feel like that gives them a little bit more of a boost. But that's kind of all I know about them. And then I have Western Kentucky beating Coastal Carolina. They've been in the top 25 and have been pretty consistent. They have taken some good teams to 4 or 5 sets. And then I have Tennessee beating High Point. Tennessee's just been very, very consistent. I have BYU beating Weber State. I don't know anything about Weber State. I'm pretty confident in the upperclassmen of BYU. And this one I changed about 20 times because I know whatever I choose, it's going to be the opposite. So I had Georgia, and then looking at this last week, I was like, I have Arizona State taking it.
All right.
Because I feel like there's greater odds that they beat a good team, than them losing to bad team. I don't know. And then I have Houston beating UC Santa Barbara. And then Stanford beating Fresno State. Moving on, I have Texas over SMU, Tennessee over Western Kentucky. I have BYU over Arizona State. That's the thing. I don't think Arizona State's going to make it too far. And then Stanford over Houston. And then from there, I have Tennessee over Texas. And then Stanford over BYU.
All right.
I think the reign of Texas is over, and they kind of need like a reality check.
Oh, shots fired. All right. I'm on a similar track here. I took Texas over Texas A&M as well. I don't see Texas A&M being strong enough to take down Texas. I don't believe that they upset them this year, so I'm going to take the Longhorns in that one. I took SMU over Texas State. I don't know anything about either of these teams, so I went with the higher ranked. I don't even know what SMU stands for. I took Western Kentucky over Coastal Carolina. I think Western Kentucky's been pretty consistent, and I could see them moving on to round 2. I took Tennessee over High Point because Tennessee is one of the most dominant teams in college volleyball right now. I took BYU over Weber State because I know BYU and I don't know Weber State. I took the Sun Devils as well over Georgia, over the Dogs, because if I didn't pick them, they would win. So yeah. I'm picking them. And I chose Houston over UC Santa Barbara and Stanford over Fresno State. Mm-hmm. Moving on, I took Texas over SMU because they're the Longhorns. They're hosting and they're not giving up without a fight. I took Tennessee over Western Kentucky. I just feel like out of spite for this year, I'm taking Arizona State over BYU. BYU has been a disappointment to me. This would technically be a 4 seed and a 5 seed match. And I'm telling you, if I don't take Arizona State, they're just going to ruin my entire bracket. So I'm taking Arizona State. And then for Houston and Stanford, I am taking Stanford. Texas and Tennessee, I also took Tennessee. I feel like they have more weapons across the net. Texas is too reliant on Maddie Skinner, and I don't think it's going to get them far in this tournament. And I just don't think they're the team that they were in the national championship last year, and I don't think that they necessarily deserve to be there this year. I took Stanford over Arizona State because that one seems pretty obvious to me. Even if I sent BYU over Arizona State, I still would have taken Stanford. So I think Stanford is honestly the team to beat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can see them moving forward with ease.
Pretty sure I literally have the same thing again.
We shouldn't have made you go last.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Texas over Texas A&M. They're just the better team. I have SMU. I also don't know anything about either team, so I again am just choosing the higher seed there. Choosing Western Kentucky, I chose Tennessee just because they're just such a powerhouse, and I feel like they're obviously going to win against High Point. I have BYU over Weber State, and I also took Arizona State. I don't know. I just chose Arizona State. I didn't even really have a reason. I just chose them. So we'll see, but that could be a good game there. And then I have Houston and then Stanford. Then going back up, I got Texas beating SMU. I also have Tennessee beating Western Kentucky. I struggled choosing between BYU and Arizona State. I have it crossed out about 6 times since I printed this bracket because I don't know. So ultimately, I decided on Arizona State. Don't know. So
immediately regretting.
I don't know. I know it's literally crossed out 6 times. So I'm like, oh my God. Okay. But hopefully Arizona State will take it. I don't know. And then Stanford. And then I have Tennessee beating Texas as well. I feel like they've just been super good, and I feel like they can definitely beat Texas. And then I also have Stanford in the
So we're all in agreement with our Elite Eight. So just to recap, since we're just talking now, we have our Elite Eight: Nebraska and Kentucky, Louisville and Pitt, Wisconsin and Oregon, Tennessee and Stanford.
Yep.
All right, so let's bounce back up to the top left. Now, keeping in mind, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Pitt, and Stanford are all hosting still at this point because they won't head to Tampa until the Final Four. So keeping that in mind as we go forward. There is a home court advantage at this point in the tournament.
Yeah.
Liv, let's hear your top left. Who do you have between Nebraska and Kentucky?
I have Nebraska.
Yes. There's no suspense there.
Yeah, no.
I do as well.
I also do.
I just feel like they're just too much of a powerhouse at this point that Nebraska's sitting in that number one spot for so long and having their only loss be to Wisconsin, who I believe to be a better team than Kentucky. I don't see Kentucky pulling an upset, especially not at the Bob.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Moving on to Louisville and Pitt.
I'm excited about
that. I don't know. I have it blank. I have it blank.
I actually just made my decision while we were on the call.
But I don't know. Pitt will be hosting, right?
Yes.
And I've been such a fan of Louisville, but when Louisville plays like Pitt, Georgia Tech, they crumble. And if they're not at home, so I'm taking Pitt.
Final answer?
I don't know.
Hold on. Did they split with Louisville this year?
I actually don't know. I don't remember.
I'm looking. They got swept by Louisville on October 13th. And then they won over Louisville in 5 on November 18th. So that's not helpful information whatsoever.
But which one was at home and which one was away?
The win in 5 was at home. The sweep was at Louisville.
I'm gonna stick with Pitt.
I also took Pitt. I just feel like Pitt has more than Anna DeBeer. Anna DeBeer is Louisville, and I have got on this podcast every week and said you cannot win with one player. And I just think Pitt is stronger across the net. I do think that Louisville's defense will hold Pitt to a sweep or 4. I think this is going to be a 5-set thriller, and I think Pitt's going to come out on top.
Yeah.
I have Louisville. I don't know. I just feel like Louisville could take it. I mean, it's going to be like literally, if it does happen, it's going to be like the closest game ever. Like, I think out of all the matches, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Louisville. I'm just going with Louisville, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, I can definitely obviously see Pitt taking it as well. But ultimately, I'm going to go Louisville for that one.
All right. Our first change.
Wrench in there.
I love it. Okay. Moving up to the top right. So far we have Nebraska. 2 of us have Nebraska and Pitt in our Final Four, and 1 of us has Nebraska and Louisville. So let's see who's the next to join the Final Four, Liv.
I have Wisconsin over Oregon. I feel like it'll be a tough match, but I think Wisconsin's more of an offensive threat and has better defense than Oregon. And especially if, they'll still be playing at the field house. So I am pretty confident that Wisconsin will take Oregon like a 4-setter. Maybe 5.
I agree. I said Wisconsin's defense is going to be what wins them the game because Oregon is so strong offensively, and it's very similar to Nebraska in that sense. And I think that Wisconsin has shown that when their defense comes to play, great offensive teams don't necessarily stand a chance. And I agree, being in the field house, I don't see Oregon coming out with that win.
Mm-hmm.
I have Wisconsin as well. I just think that playing in the field house is just impossible. I also feel like Julia Orzel has been playing really good defense recently. And so I do feel like our defense is our offense is obviously very good as well, but I feel like our defense will help us win that game. So I have Wisconsin.
Yeah. All right. Wisconsin moves forward. Bottom right. Tennessee and Stanford.
I don't have my
pulled out, to be honest. It's also blank.
Mine's also blank.
The thing is, like, who I want and who I think will win are different, and that confuses me. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I would love to see Tennessee make it to the Final Four, but Stanford is just so strong, and it's kind of a revenge thing. I mean, they have kind of teetered on and off the past few years with the NCAA tournament, and I think right now they have a really solid group of girls that can make a good run to, if not the Final Four, if not the championship. So I'm picking Stanford, even though it would be really awesome to see Tennessee move forward. I'm picking Stanford.
Yep, I chose Stanford as well. I just think that offensively, they're just too much of a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. I think Cami Minor runs such an incredible offense for Stanford that Tennessee has had a couple of stumbles, and I don't think Stanford really has. So with them hosting, I also took Stanford. However, if Tennessee pulled through, I would not be upset about that by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to go with Stanford. I really want Tennessee, really badly, but I don't. I just feel like Stanford is just too strong. I don't know. I just feel like them playing at home against Tennessee is just dangerous. So I'm going Stanford.
Yeah, I heard recently too for Stanford, like Kendall Kipp, Katie Baird, like they were freshmen sitting on the bench the last time that Stanford won a national championship. And so I do think that this is a little bit revenge fueled as well, to kind of prove to everybody that Stanford volleyball is what it is still to this day of what it used to be back when they were underclassmen. So I feel confident in it, but I don't think that's going to be an easy win for them by any means.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. Who's going to the championship? I don't know.
Don't know either. On the left side, I have Nebraska taking it. I mean, we've talked about the all podcasts all season, and I don't think there's much that stands in Nebraska's way until they get to the championship. And I think at that point, it'll come more to their youth than like their skill set, like the mindset, the youth mindset and mentality, I think will have a bigger effect than their actual skills. But I think that will be challenged when it comes to the national championship. So I think Nebraska will take over Pitt. It's a neutral place, so no one has home court advantage. I do get a little scared because Nebraska kind of teeters on and off when they're away. But like I was saying in the podcast earlier, Nebraska has nothing to lose at this point. I mean, maybe a little bit because they've been number one, but as freshmen, a team full of freshmen, they will just go balls to the wall, and they don't have anything to lose or really anything to prove at this point. They're just going to go out and play Nebraska volleyball.
Yeah, I took Nebraska as well. I just think that Merritt Beeson tends to be such a force. I don't necessarily see Pitt's defense being able to hold off Merritt Beeson, Andy Jackson, and Harper Murray all in the same match. So if Nebraska's offense is completely on, I don't think Pitt actually stands a chance. However, if Merritt Beeson kind of stumbles a little bit like she did against Wisconsin, if Harper Murray is playing down quite a bit, I definitely think this could be a bit of a closer match. But if Nebraska's offense comes to play, I don't think Pitt stands a chance. I would say it would be a 4-setter if Nebraska's on. If they're not, it's going to be a close 5-set.
I have Nebraska as well. Yeah, I just feel like their defense and offense are, if they're both on, I just feel like they're unstoppable. And I just feel like Louisville also won't stand a chance against a Nebraska strong offense if everybody's on, and Nebraska's defense with Lexi Rodriguez has been so good. So yeah, taking Nebraska.
Oh God, I'm scared.
Me too.
I don't have it chosen yet.
Okay, let's talk through it a little bit because I have a couple things that lean me one way more than the other. Like fandom aside, I think that what makes Stanford is their offense. Like you don't really hear about Stanford's block very much. You don't necessarily hear about their libero too much. And I think that what Wisconsin has is they're the strongest defensive team in the nation. Yeah. I think they said they average like 3 blocks per set or something. And Stanford is one of the best offensive teams in the nation. And so is Nebraska. Yeah. And so I just think comparing the way Wisconsin played against Nebraska and the way their defense played, it makes me lean towards Wisconsin a little bit more because Wisconsin also has a really strong offense. Yeah. In my opinion, if Stanford's defense isn't up to par per se, they're not going to be able to stop Sarah Franklin placing the ball. They're not going to be able to stop Devin Robinson and Anna Smrek ripping on the ball. And if Temi Thomas-Ilara continues this kind of hot streak she's been on and she continues throughout the tournament, which I think she's going to, I think she's going to have an incredible postseason. I don't see how Stanford can battle Wisconsin's defense and offense at the same time. Yeah. However, if Wisconsin's defense is not on, Stanford with Kendall Kipp having a great game and Katie Baird having a great game across the net, I could see them pulling out with it, especially because Kendall Kipp is a right side. And I don't necessarily feel like Sarah Franklin and Temi are the best blockers on the team. So I think when your best hitter's a right side and your outsides on the opposite side who would be blocking her are hit or miss with their defense, it's getting a little shaky for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if Wisconsin can spread the wealth like they did against Nebraska, they will be completely fine as far as winning the match offensively compared to Stanford. But if they don't do that, then it gets a little shaky. I think their main thing, like you said, Haley, will be their defense and making sure that that's on and their serve receive. When Wisconsin's serve receive is not on, that's also a really scary sight for my eyes. But I do have in my little notebook Wisconsin underlined, so I have a little bit more faith, but I think it'll be a 5-setter. Like, I think it's just going to ping pong, and it's going to be a 17-15 type of match. And so you can't be upset about that. No matter how much of a fan you are, that's just good volleyball that you want to see. But I think you were right in comparing Stanford's offense to Nebraska's, and Wisconsin shut Nebraska's offense down pretty easily. So,
especially Merritt Beeson on the right side.
Yeah. So I'm taking Wisconsin.
I took Wisconsin as well.
Yep. Yeah. I'm also taking Wisconsin. Basically for all the reasons that you guys said as well. I also do agree with comparing Stanford's offense to Nebraska's. I mean, we let Merritt basically destroy us the first set a little bit and choose the right side. So as long as we are on our block, I think we should be fine on, I don't know, fine with their offense. But it just shows that if our offense is not on a right side, a strong right side could kill us. So that's scary. But I'm ultimately going Wisconsin. But I just hope that our defense is on.
Yeah, the other thing that gives me confidence about Wisconsin's defense is Izzy Ashburn and MJ Hamill both play pretty strong defense. And with Kendall Kitt being the go-to for Stanford, it's typical to see right sides hitting towards the setter cross court. And so that gives me confidence as well that even if Kendall Kipp is deciding to avoid the block and rip cross court at the setter, which is what right sides are told to do because they're usually the weakest defender, I feel confident that Izzy and MJ can at least put a ball up. And then hopefully Sarah Franklin will be in the front row to hit off balls, like off speed, because she does it much better than anyone else. So I'm taking Wisconsin, but I don't think it's going to be an easy pull by any means.
No, I agree.
No.
So we're back. Wisconsin and Nebraska. 2021 rematch. I don't have a winner. My winner is blank.
My winner is also blank.
Yeah. It's so hard because with these two teams, like I take it back to like the maturity, and almost all of Nebraska's players that are on the court haven't been to the NCAA tournament, nor a championship match. Whereas there's more players on Wisconsin's team that has, and they've choked and they've won. So I think they know the caliber a little bit better than Nebraska. However, I don't think that necessarily will stop Nebraska from winning. So yeah, that's my thoughts right now. I'm still undecided. Like I don't know, because either I would be like perfectly content for either team winning.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like with like Wisconsin and everybody like being back and like and healthy and everything, like when we played Nebraska at Nebraska, like we could have easily taken that match and we just choked. Like we literally had so many opportunities to win. And then when they came to us, we swept. So I feel like I feel like Wisconsin, like, I don't know. I feel like Wisconsin could take it against Nebraska, but I don't want to say that first. So, like, I don't know. I feel like when we played them at Nebraska, like I literally stopped. I didn't stop watching the game, but like I was like not paying attention as much because I like literally thought we were gonna win because we were winning by so much in like the set, and then like we just lost, and I was like, what the heck? And then we just like literally swept Nebraska at home. And I get that we're not playing at home, but I feel like when we play against Nebraska, it just is like something happens inside Wisconsin. I don't know. That's all.
I'm leading that way too for a couple of reasons. I think Liv's point of the age of Nebraska is a big factor for sure. I think that there's the stats that we have talked about over the past few weeks have shown that Merritt Beeson and Harper Murray don't have as strong of numbers in games that matter more.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think that Wisconsin wouldn't have the losses to Penn State and Purdue if their lineup wasn't changed. So I think that these two teams would have very, very similar records, if not possibly the same exact record, with each loss being to each other. Yeah. So when you're looking at it big picture of Wisconsin goes to Nebraska and wins and loses in 5, and Nebraska comes to the field house and gets swept, that makes me lean Wisconsin. Obviously, this is going to be neutral ground. I just think that Wisconsin has girls who will play like there's more on the line than Nebraska necessarily will. Not that they'll play down, but I do think there are girls on Wisconsin who are like, this is it. Like, this is it for me. Temi Thomas-Aguilera has the mentality of, I transferred here for this moment, a moment she would have never had at Northwestern. I just think that like there's a lot more that comes into play for Wisconsin mentally. You know, and that's, but Nebraska's offense is really scary when they're on. I'm leaning towards the Badgers, but I'm scared to put it on paper, you know?
Yeah. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick.
I'll put it on paper.
I'm going to pick them.
All right, we're doing it.
I'm doing it. I just feel like you have to. I don't know.
I'm scared.
Can't go
they
back.
They did it last time. Why couldn't they do it now?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. And I just feel like they really would have the exact same record with losses against each other if everybody was playing their normal positions and everyone was on the court against Penn State and Purdue. So, and the fact that we took them to 5 and lost very closely and swept them at home, I just feel like they got it in them to do it again. I don't know.
So we're taking Wisconsin overall in Tampa for a not back-to-back years, but back-to-back national championships over Nebraska.
Correct.
Yes.
Ooh. And I think the first time when they played Nebraska and won the championship, I would have taken Nebraska.
I would agree with that. I would have.
And they pulled off that win.
And truthfully, if until Wisconsin swept Nebraska, I would have taken Nebraska all day. I've said it multiple times on the podcast. I've said, I think Nebraska is going to win it all. And watching them get swept by Wisconsin the way they did,
it restored my faith. It restored my faith in Wisconsin that they could be the national champions again.
Yes. It changed everything. It changed everything.
100%. And I think it changed everything for Nebraska too. Agreed. Like for their one loss to be a sweep by Wisconsin, that's tough. Like that's kind of a mindfuck. Like that hits hard because they've always been such big rivals. So every time you lose to them, it just hurts a little bit more.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you heard it here. The 3 of us are taking Wisconsin. So if Wisconsin goes down, our brackets mean nothing.
Nothing.
All right. Well, that wraps up our bracket. Little technical difficulties, but like, it's no big deal. So Taylor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We love your bracket. We love having you. And all of our brackets are going to show here at the end of this video. And they will also be posted on our Instagram. So make sure you're following. And then we'll be doing some updates as the play starts on Thursday of whose bracket's looking like what. Really just going to pray Wisconsin gets through so that we are not totally screwed right out the bat. But that's it for us.
Confidence against Jackson.
Fingers crossed. Let's go. So that is it for us. Otherwise, we will see you next week for a recap of the first round of the NCAA tournament. First 2 rounds probably of NCAA tournament and what that's looking like and where our brackets stand. So we will see you guys next week.